Here are some more tips and tricks and things I wish I knew sooner in Arc Raiders after I've spent way too long playing this game. Something I always wondered but couldn't figure out for the longest time is why your raider makes louder noise while moving and is quieter at other times even though you're doing the same exact movement. I went in and actually tested it, and it's actually just based on how many backpack slots you have filled up. If your loadout is halfway full, you start to become a little louder with a bit of a jingling going on. And when you're entirely full, the jingling sound is much louder. This doesn't seem to be based on what you're carrying at all, since you can see here I tested it with an inventory full of a single adrenaline in each slot, and it still made the same amount of noise. Equipping attachments from your stash can be incredibly tedious, but if you just right-click or press triangle to inspect your weapon, you can swap them around much easier without having to actually manually move the attachments to and from your stash inventory or your loadout. All of your stash's attachments are just right there down at the bottom. Oh yeah, don't forget to leave your tips and tricks down in the comments. Even if you think it's super obvious, I'm sure it'll help someone. Like, I did not realize until just now while making this video and rereading through my comments on the last tips video that you can exchange your free loadout augment with the trader who sells augments, Lance, back at your home base in Speranza. You don't have to sell it. Usually I sell it for like the $100 that the game gives you, which is like nothing, and then just craft my own augment or buy an augment. But I did not know that you can actually just exchange it with them. It is so much more worth it like this. So maybe my brain is extremely smooth, but I did not realize until recently, like 300 hours in, that keys are color coordinated. No matter the rarity, Buried City Hospital keys always have that yellow stripe, you know, like the color of Buried City. Blue Gate keys always have the blue stripe, Damn Battlegrounds is always black, or I guess no stripe, and it just keeps going like that. All of that just helps to quickly pick a key when you know what map you're going to. So hammering ticks is sometimes the easiest way to deal with those guys quietly, but you can do the same thing with the pops, the like explosive kamikaze robots. And however you choose to destroy them, they do not damage you, even if they are right on top of you, as long as you were the one that got them to explode. If they detonate themselves, it'll hurt you, but if you damage them and detonate them, it doesn't. And it is surprisingly easy to hammer these guys. You can also use your hammer or pickaxe on the cameras to get rid of those quietly. I think that's like the sole reason for the hairpin pistol's existence. But generally, I was always timing the hammer to hit once I jumped up to hit the camera. But there's actually a vertical swing in this game with your hammer. On PC, it's right click instead of left, so probably L2 on console. Never knew this was a thing in here. It just helps reach a higher point or make it easier to hit certain enemies, but it doesn't do any extra damage. But before we delve deeper into the video, there's a huge game that just launched one of their coolest collabs ever with Assassin's Creed. If you download Raid right now by using my link and log in for 7 days, you'll get none other than the one and only Ezio. Log in for just another 7 days and you get even more rewards. But this is a limited time event going from January 8th to May 7th. If you don't want to miss out, you need to join the chase before April 8th. Other than Ezio, you also have Edward Kenway, Cassandra, who is the first champion for Raid's newest faction, the Argonauts, as well as Bayek and Bass, who you all have the chance to get from different events. You also have a new dungeon boss inspired by Assassin's Creed, Pontiff Augustine, who found a piece of Eden and is waiting for you in his event dungeon that you can participate in to earn limited time gear. And if you unlock all 6 characters, you will be rewarded with an exclusive bonus item. By using my link, you'll also instantly unlock a huge starter pack, which also includes Epic Feign. So yeah, probably the coolest event this game has had. You get Ezio for completely free, who is probably my favorite character in Assassin's Creed. And actually, it's probably a tie between Ezio and Edward Kenway, who they luckily also brought into the game, and Bayek from Assassin's Creed Origins, who I hope we see in a future Assassin's Creed game, plus this big old Assassin's Creed inspired event. Pretty dang cool. Come find me under the name Astrosiv and join my clan called Astros Minions, and click my link down in the description or scan the QR code to grab all of these awesome rewards while there's still time. Thank you to Raid for sponsoring the video. But back over to those pops. You can sometimes just roll when the pop stops to dodge their explosion, but I did not know for the longest time that if you just run towards them, it will never hit you. Jumping over it can make it even easier, but if you just stay in place or run away from the pop, it almost always rolls further than you actually were to make up for that distance that you ran. It's anticipating for you to run away. Obviously, this only applies when there's enough space between you and the pop though. If you're in a very narrow space, you might not have enough time to run, and a lot of the time it's still best to either hammer it or shoot it. If you want to check how much an item is worth mid-match, you'll notice your overall loadout value go down when you drop it. Such a simple thing to even do. It sounds kind of obvious, but a lot of people seem to not even realize that. You can ping enemies through bushes as well as smoke, so if someone's running away through smoke or you think they might be sitting in a bush camping or that deep dark tunnel down in the subway, try to ping them. It also helps at night when you can barely see other raiders from a distance as well. It helps a ton if you get in the habit of quick swapping through items instead of opening up this entire inventory wheel here. Just press the same button that you hold to open that and it quickly swaps between each one. If you have your weapon out and you just press it one time, it'll take out the last item that you had. While you're playing Arc Raiders in general, you should not really be sprinting until you're out of stamina. Besides sprinting making a lot more noise, it is just incredibly draining. You should be sprinting in short bursts so that your stamina bar stays at least halfway, preferably like 2/3 full in case you get shot at. That's where adrenaline comes in. Adrenaline is insane. It's cheap to craft, and you can use it every time you're low on stamina to get a temporary infinite stamina bar, while also instantly regaining all of your spent stamina. It is the fastest way to get out of anywhere, and even after I've been shot at, I've sat there and adrenalined out in the open and escaped. Other than that, the Good as New perk increases your stamina regen when you're healing, which is why carrying fabric on you is super beneficial with that perk to pretty much just stay juiced up on stamina. And if you're not hoarding fabric for that sole purpose, it is better to turn fabric into durable cloth when you're storing it in your stash, since one stack of durable cloth equals about 1.5 stacks of fabric. If you're trying to make room in your inventory, a lot of the time it just comes down to repairing or upgrading items. To see what's worth repairing or recycling first, sort the stash by its value, especially when it comes to repairing, so you don't sit there and hover over each item to see what the durability is at for those. The items with the lowest durability should be toward the bottom since they are worth less. If you check your entire stash with it sorted by value, you can scroll down and actually see the tiny things that are taking up space that it might be hard to usually see. It organizes it by value for the stack's worth, not the item itself's worth. So if I have 6 arc circuitry, the stack of 5 will be higher up and the single one will be more towards the bottom. It's an easy way to just clear up some space in your stash. Recycling something that is empty or at 0 durability gives the same amount of resources as a full health version of the same thing. It always makes sense to recycle low durability weapons instead of selling them. When a weapon gets around 20 to 30 durability is when I typically repair it if I want to continue using it. Obviously, if it's a raid where you think you'll be using it more, you don't want to go into it with a 20 durability weapon, but generally you're good waiting that long most of the time, especially if you're playing solos. But if I want to get rid of that weapon, somewhere around it being halfway broken is when it is like never more financially worth it to sell it, and you should recycle it instead. If you hover over a weapon and right click or press triangle to open up that little menu and hit upgrade, it'll bring you straight to the workshop where you can swap between workbenches on the left and hit the back arrow at the top left to return straight back to your stash. Sometimes it's just so much easier to do this than going to the Raider menu's workshops tab. Once you have enough money, you should be buying things like attachments or some of the good weapon deals from the trader instead of crafting them. At least the higher end tier 3 attachments. It is just far easier to make that money back than it is to get back the resources to craft them. And don't forget, a lot of the loot that you need can be purchased in these trader shops and they refresh once per day. So if you really need an item, make sure you're grabbing it every day that you're playing, each time that it refreshes, like the seed shop for example. If you look over at the gunsmith, you can see the green and red arrows indicating what is a buff and what's a negative on weapons and attachments. In your stash and loadout, it can seem like all of these are buffs, like reduced ADS speed. You could not tell unless you actually look over here in the workshop. Reduced ADS speed sounds like it might be the animation to aiming down sights that is reduced, therefore making it faster, but it's actually that the speed is reduced, so it's slower. That animation that you take to aim down sights is longer. But with that being said, a lot of the people that have realized that this is a negative tend to think that the level 2 grip, whether it's the angled or horizontal grip, they think that the level 2 is better than the level 3 because the level 2 doesn't have a big negative on it. When really they just both have their own uses, because a huge thing people don't seem to realize is that you can shoot while you're ADSing. You can shoot without aiming down sights, keep holding the trigger, and now aim down sights while you're still holding it, and it'll never pause the shooting. The only thing to keep in mind is that you're more accurate while ADSing, so during that time while you're no-scoping and in the extra lengthened process of ADSing, your shots might be slightly less accurate. That's like the only real con. If you're using the level 3 grip, especially if you're using it with like an SMG or something, you kind of want to get into the habit of shooting before you aim down sights, and the level 3 grip is kind of worth it at that point. Really though, not even using your sights, especially on close ranged weapons, I think is highly slept on. Like, you don't have to aim down sights with the Stitcher or the Bobcat. Like, yeah, it helps to be more accurate, but no scoping is pretty dang accurate itself. Vita Spray is only worth repairing if you don't have the blueprint. If you have the blueprint, it makes very little sense to repair it. It costs 2 antiseptic and 1 canister to repair a Vita Spray halfway. You get 50% of its health back for that. So if it's empty, it costs 4 antiseptic and 2 canisters to fully repair it. Meanwhile, to make an entirely new Vita Spray, you need 3 antiseptic and 1 canister. So yeah, it costs slightly more to make a new one than it does to repair it halfway. But if you recycle your empty Vita Spray or partially used one, you get 1 antiseptic and 2 canisters back. So that antiseptic alone makes up for that. Now it's basically costing 2 antiseptic and a canister to create a new one, the same exact price that it costs to repair it 50%. Something that is very similar to that is the Snaphook. A Snaphook costs 3 rope, 2 power rods, and an Exodus module to craft. It's really expensive. To repair it, it costs again that same Exodus module and the power rod, just to restore 50 health to it. If you recycle that Snaphook, you get a power rod back and 3 rope. So as long as you recycle it, recrafting a brand new Snaphook essentially costs 1 power rod and 1 Exodus module, the same price that it costs to repair it. That's all assuming you have the Snaphook blueprint, which is pretty rare. Augments are only damaged when you or another player dies, so if yours is working, you shouldn't repair it. The red triangle on an item does not mean it's fully destroyed. I and a lot of other people, even though I know that it does not mean it's destroyed, still make that mistake sometimes. Like when you're in the middle of a fight and you're trying to find a weapon real quick to fight with, I'll totally forget that sometimes. I do not know why, but just make sure you look at the actual durability, because the red triangle just means that the durability is low and it could be broken, or it could have a few shots left in it before it breaks. I think it goes to the red triangle at like 15% durability. You might have known that you have the arc penetration stat here on your weapons, but you do not need that stat. All of that is just based on the type of ammo that weapon uses. For example, the Osprey Sniper takes medium ammo, which is why it's weaker against arcs than the Pharaoh or the Anvil, which take heavy, and why the Kettle and Stitcher are terrible with arcs. But it goes in order from light ammo being the weakest, medium being okay, and heavy being the best. Medium is still good enough for most arc enemies as long as you hit their weak spots, and even light ammo is okay. The best things to deal damage to arcs though are energy weapons, which is why the legendary weapons are good, explosives, and fire. Shock items like the Hornet Driver or the Showstopper are also surprisingly really good, especially for like the Rocketeer. It'll knock him down to the ground. You've probably already known that, but it'll severely stun him and allow you to take him out a lot easier. Rocketeers are like the best case used for wolf packs, but if you want to run away from it, your best bet is running through any dense area with a lot of cover like a forest and try to kind of walk/run, but mostly walking to conserve your stamina while listening to the sound that he makes when he shoots. And when he shoots, quickly sprint and change directions and just keep doing that until you can try to make it to a building. Also, smoke grenades. Sometimes the Rocketeer will still see you, but these can be incredibly useful for not only losing Rocketeers, but arcs in general. If you hover over your weapon to see how much ammo the mag carries, you can bring that much extra ammo so that when you load into the raid, your weapon reloads and doesn't take from the actual stock of ammo that you were thinking you'd have. And if you bring the correct amount that your mag takes, you'll still have that empty slot back once you reload. If you don't feel like sitting there and checking and dividing stacks to get the exact amount, just bring a small bit of extra ammo. It just helps to make up for that reload. Moral to the story, it helps to grab like a mag's worth of ammo to make up for the reload, like your first reload that the game automatically does when a raid starts. You might not even notice that it happens. Just don't overthink it. The only reason that I even mention this is because people are always running out of ammo on my team. Just make sure you have enough. You should virtually never be running out of ammo in a match unless you're a free loadout. And if you can't afford to bring in enough ammo, you probably should be using a free loadout anyways. If you extract with a free loadout, that's easy money. Plus, you can just keep the free loadout, swap augments so that you have a safe pocket. Boom, easy loadout. You don't have to really do much. You're ready to go again. Nothing you're gonna complain over if you get clapped to smithereens. The only other things you might want to do is toss some more heals into your loadout or upgrade your weapon. I highly recommend upgrading your weapons to give you some type of advantage. Like level 2 upgrades are cheap and fine. Just that alone is a huge difference over a level 1. But level 3 is like the minimum that I try to go with. Level 3 is where you're reaping a ton of benefits over the level 1 weapons, and you're not crying as hard if you lose the level 4. Upgrade to level 4 if you've got a good stash of gun parts and mechanical components. If not, aim for level 3 weapons. especially for higher end weapons. I do not even leave Speranza with a purple weapon under level 4. Otherwise, you're just risking good loot for no reason. You should upgrade that first so you can have as good of an advantage as you can have without really risking losing that weapon. And thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring the video. Don't forget to click the link down in the description or scan the QR code to get all of the free stuff I went over.